morning, YouTube friends. Are you bogged down with a bunch of baggage? My name's Jim, and thanks for watching my channel, Finding God's Presence. We all, one time or another, have baggage we have to deal with. We have things in our life that just cause us grief, cause us pain, and cause us to be unfulfilled and unsatisfied with life at that moment. We've all been there, and we've all been in that situation. But the question is, how do you deal with it? How do you deal with the pain of a situation in your life that's beyond your control, and you know you can't fix it yourself? Everybody has their own thing, their own baggage, their own things that cause them grief. And what's a light burden for one person could be a very heavy burden and a lot of baggage for another person. A person who has just lost their job, for instance, that has sufficient money in the bank and they're thinking about retiring, would take a situation a lot different than a person who just lost their job and has just got married and maybe has a spouse, a wife who's pregnant. So we all have baggage at different times in our life, and our baggage can be a lot more severe than other times, and everybody has it, carries it their own way. I'm going to give you an example of something that happened to me when I was just a young boy, probably 12 years old. I'm guessing. I can't remember. I came from a broken family. My mom and dad, they got divorced. My dad said to me, he said, "Son, you're going to come live with me." I thought, great. I would have rather lived with my dad. So I thought, that's great. So I went to school, I came home, and I'm waiting, I'm figuring out things today, tomorrow, the next day. They're making decisions, all that court stuff. I'm not really sure how it all played out at the time. I was just a kid. So it never really happened because they decided that I would be better off staying with my mom. So then I would visit my dad on the weekends. And my dad said to me, he says, "You want to come live with me?" I says, "Yeah, I do." He says, "Okay, here's what you got to do then. You have to write a letter to social services and tell them negative stuff about your mom. Then they'll let you come live with me." And I thought, okay, I can do that because I definitely had some negative stuff. You know, I was to somewhat. My mother wasn't really nice to me when I was a kid. When I did something wrong, she made sure I knew I was wrong. And so I wrote a letter to the Children's Aid, Social Services. And then nothing happened, so I wrote a second one, and then my dad encouraged me, and I wrote a third one. Like, when my mom got mad at me, the hand went up and I seen the stars. So after the third letter, I came home from school one day, and like I say, I was I don't know, I was 11 or 12, grade 2, I think. I don't know, I can't remember. Came home from school one day, and there's a car in the driveway. I'm thinking, whose car is that? So I go up to the apartment, and there was social services at my house. And what happened was, I walked into the kitchen, and there was my mom sitting there, reading the letters I had written. Because they didn't just come to her house and talk to her, they brought the letters, my handwritten letters, about stuff I had said about my mother, which was all true. And that was devastating to me. And my mom said to me, she said, fine, you can go. Don't come back, and I'm cutting you out of my will. Well, like I say, I was just a little kid, and I thought, okay, great, now I'm going to go. So my dad picked me up, had my suitcase, he picked me up, and we took off. But we weren't going back to his place. I was thinking, where are we going? He said, oh, don't worry about it. So we drove for an hour and a half, and we stopped at this building, and my dad says, hey, come on, son, let's go. Bring your suitcase with you. And I'm thinking, where are we going? We went to social services, Children's Aid, in a totally different town. And we went up to the counter, and my dad said to the lady behind the counter, I still hear the words as plain as day. He said to the lady behind the counter, he says, I'm here to drop my son off. I don't have the room in the house for him. I've just recently been remarried, and I just can't keep him. And so social services said to my dad, well, what about his mother? And my dad says, no, I went and picked him up this morning. She doesn't want him. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, this whole thing was just a big plan for my dad to get back at my mother. And that was just one situation in my childhood. There's many more, but that's just one of them. Well, the thing is, I have that in the back of my mind as a memory, but I'm not carrying it as baggage. And a lot of people have a situation that happens to them in their life, as I did, that causes them trauma at the time, which I did also. But they hold on to that thing forever and forever and forever. I had to come to a point where I either hold on to it and let it fester and grow, or I turn it over to God and I say, okay, make my life a different life than what it would be if I held on to this grudge and this bitterness and this anger that I had. So I turned it over to God and I let it go. What are you doing? You may have trauma in your life much less than what I had, with much less impact than what I had. Or you may have trauma in your life that is much more impact than what I had. I don't know what your trauma is. I don't know what it is you're holding on to. Are you holding on to that baggage? You need to let it go. Just as I did. I feel no anger, remorse, bitterness over that situation. I did at the time. Now, both my parents have passed away, but while they were still alive, I could go see my dad, I could go see my mom, I could talk to them. It's forgotten. It was left, it was done. I didn't hold on to it, I didn't bring it up, I didn't mention it to them at all. So what are you holding on to? Because that thing that you're holding on to right now, that thing is holding you back from the grace and the presence and the peace that you could have if you let it go. So what I'm saying to you right now is let that thing go. I'm not a counselor at all. But I know common sense. I know that if you hold on to bitterness, that bitterness will be shown. It'll come out of you, and you'll be sharing that with people. When I say you'll be sharing with people, what I mean is that if you feel bitter, then when somebody offends you the wrong way, that bitterness will come out of you. So if you get rid of that bitterness and you have love in you and you have grace and you have forgiveness, then when someone wrongs you, then you can show the virtues of Christ in your life. I had to forgive my dad for that. I had to forgive him. Just as I forgave my mother for things that she did. Just as I forgave people that have offended me out in the street daily, different people that have offended me. And I can't hold on to bitterness and anger and resentment. Because the thing is, my life was full of sin. And Christ, who died on the cross for me, forgave all that sin and made me new. And so if he can forgive me for all that I've done wrong, why can I not forgive people in my life that wronged me? I have to forgive them, or it makes me a hypocrite. So this is all just my opinion. So I'm just sharing with you how I feel. And if I want to be a better person, I want to grow spiritually, and I want the virtues of Christ in my life to show through me, then I have to get rid of baggage. And if that means that I gotta get down on my knees, then that's what I have to do. So take care. Have a great day. And in that corner there's a subscribe button. There's a brand new channel. And I'm hoping that I can grow this channel. And I'm really hoping if you watch my very first video, you'll see the purpose of this channel. I'm hoping I can grow this channel, and I'm hoping that you'll be one of my subscribers. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.